upbringing?
For reasons I've never entirely understood, giving that little speech about Strike City to the Lions Club long ago seemed to connect me to that place and the people who lived there even decades after I no longer lived in Mississippi.
They were self-sufficient, really, on a lot of stuff.
I visited more than once over the years.
Okay, so this is a documentary on PBS. It's a very interesting documentary. You can find it on YouTube. So the title is "The Harvest: Integrating Mississippi's Schools." So it is basically an American experience, and I've been watching American Experience on PBS. It's quite interesting, That's kind of the main narrative of America, even though there are a lot of a lot of things that are not told. All right, so I'm going to give my impressions of this documentary, and so the documentary talks about the segregation in Mississippi, especially in schools, right? So at the time, white were going to their own schools, and black also, going to their own schools. And then the federal government decided that that's not gonna that's not going to work out, and the federal government, imposed the integration of the schools, and so they they make sure that white kids and black kids go together in the same schools. So they impose that, even though a lot of whites are I mean, basically they are opposed to the idea, but they don't say it openly, right? So the tragedy is a lot of white people are not, especially in the South, right? We are talking in the context of the South, but generally they are not they are not honest about the race relationship. They don't voice what they really think, right? So instead of saying we do not want integrating with black people, and instead of saying that, but they don't say it, they don't voice it, but they show it in a different way. The reason I say that is, when they decided to integrate, right, then what happens? The white people went and created private schools. Okay, so they created private schools. A lot of private schools came about, and then the next year, a lot of white kids stopped coming to the school. So the school that's supposed to be integrated, and the next year it turns out only few white people show up, but the majority of white people, they decided that that's not what that's not their place, and they went to private schools. So this is a perfect example of not really saying one thing in public and doing something completely different. And I think that white people should be honest about about this stuff. This I'm talking about. Of course, I'm talking about something happens, I don't know, more than 30 years ago. But I'm going to give an example where that kind of atmosphere still exists in some places. So I'm going to give you my take in terms of why it was a mistake to integrate the schools, right? And I think black people should not try to integrate into white society. Why you wanted to integrate with people that they don't want to, they don't want to integrate with? I do not get it, because if you wanted to integrate into other people, that tells me that you have a inferiority complex. So in this case, Black people have inferiority complex. They wanted to be part of white people in order to feel better, in order to be, in order to feel superior. And on the opposite side, you have white people who have superiority complex, where they see Black people are inferior, and that they don't want to deal with them. You see? And I think in order to gain respect as a people, you have to have a self-determination, right? You have to rely on your capacity as a community, and you have to build your own community so that people can respect you. The idea that you wanted to be part of other community, it comes across as not very powerful. It's very weak. It's very weak move. So from human nature's perspective, we are very, in terms of human nature, we want to stick with our own, okay? And for some reason, Black people, some Black people, they don't want to do that, but I think they learned the hard way. But I think it was a mistake for them to try to force the issue to be part of white community when the white community is not welcoming them. Okay, the rightful thing to do is you build your own community, you set an example to the point where people, they will respect you. Okay, and it is a mistake try to force yourself into other people's community. Right. So I came from Africa. I came from a country called Chad, a small country. I mean, it is quite a big country, right? It's the 5th largest country in Africa. And we have a lot of tribes. And even though we are visibly, melanated skin, right? But we always tend to stay with our own. We never try to be part of other tribes. So every tribe is stay with their own. They do stuff together. They fight together. They work together, and that's more respectful. That's how we respect each other, and that's human nature, right? You want to stay with your own, and I think a lot of people in America, they miss that memo. Okay, and so what happened is after they forced the integration, white people, they moved out. They move out completely from the neighborhoods, okay, and they went to completely different neighborhoods, and they created their own schools. And today, inside the documentary, you'll be able to see it. Today, if you go back to when they go back to the same neighborhood, 95% is Black. All the white people went out. So this is a perfect example that when you try to force an issue, when you try to force a change, artificially forcing a change, it's going to have a counter effects, right? It's not going to have positive effects. People have naturally have to mingle. They have, let's say, what's it called? There's a term for that. So organically, right? So organically, people, they need to build a relationship, okay? Then they will be able to help each other, I don't know, respect each other. But you cannot force them. You cannot force people to live together. It's counterproductive. It doesn't work, okay? And the proof is in the pudding. Today, as we can see in the documentary, all the white people, they completely left the neighborhoods, okay, and then they went and build their own schools, and that's not, this is very counterproductive. It's not going to work. Okay, so these are, the other example that I wanted to give you is I used to work in New York, right? So if you work in New York, if you go to suburbs, a lot of suburbs, you see, generally in America, right? A lot of the suburbs are occupied by, majority of them are occupied by white people. And a lot of Black people tend to be in poor neighborhoods. Okay. So that's today. That's not even, 50 years ago. Today, you can see it. You can clearly see the divide, even though there is a sense of people, okay, things have progressed, even though there is no more segregation, all of that, but it's still people choose to live with their own. That's a natural, natural state of human beings. Okay, so these are a few points that I take away from the documentary. You can comment if you have something that you want to add it, or a perspective that I'm not aware of it.